Hello and welcome to another X-Plane 11 tutorial. I will show you in this video how to use the Cessna 172 Autopilot. We'll take off from Toronto City Centre, and once we're in the air I'll show you the various aspects of the Autopilot. Let's begin. Alright, now that we're in the air, let's go ahead and look at the Autopilot. First thing we're going to do is select Autopilot and then vertical speed, and we'll set it to +5 by going clockwise. What that will do, it'll give us a vertical speed of 500 feet per minute. So as we can see, the vertical speed indicator right here is hovering around 5. The artificial horizon is also around 5 degrees, and the speed is actually increasing in altitude. But if I wanted to go a little faster on my ascent, I could increase this to say 10 or 1,000 feet per minute. So now you'll notice that the vertical speed hovering around 10. The artificial horizon is also around 10. But notice something, the airspeed is going down. So you got to be very careful with vertical speed. You want to make sure that your ascent is not too high, because you can actually stall the plane. So I believe on the Cessna it'll get to about 70 to 80 for an airspeed at 1,000 feet per minute. However, I prefer sticking this number around 5 for a nice slow ascent. Okay, so let's stable things out here for a second, and now I will show you how to fly a heading. So imagine you were asked by the air traffic controller, I need you to fly a heading of 090. So we can come over here, change the heading bug to east, which is 90, and then activate the heading option, HDG. You'll now notice that the plane is automatically turning to a heading of 90 degrees. So by using this option, you don't have to constantly hold the joystick or the yoke, and you can do the things that the air traffic controller is saying. So if the air traffic controller is saying, I need you to get to 2,500 feet at a heading of 120, we can adjust this heading bug to 120 like so. The plane will turn again until it gets to a heading of 120, and then it'll stable out. There we go. So just a couple more notches to get it perfectly on 120. And there we go. So now we're approaching 2,500 feet, and I just gave you the scenario that our air traffic control has asked us to stay at 2,500 feet and a heading of 120. So what we can do is we can either do two things. Click the altitude hold button here, like so, and now the plane will hold at 2,500 feet. It'll take a few seconds to stable out and go back, but there you go. You can see the vertical speed now getting back to around 0, and it's staying at 2,500 feet. The other way to do that is using vertical speed. Now, I don't like to use the altitude hold, and I'll show you why. Let's say the air traffic controller said, I need you to drop to 2,000 feet. The first thing I would need to do is click vertical speed, but now I'm going up because that's what I had my vertical speed set to, and I would have to quickly rush to get to -5. So if I'm using the vertical speed knob instead, I can set that to 0, and now it's very simple. If the air traffic controller says I need you to go up, I can go clockwise, and if I need to go down, I can go counterclockwise. It's much easier than scrambling by having to change from alt to vertical speed and then quickly find the setting that I need to get to. So that's my preferred approach. You can find both options and try them out and see which one you prefer. So everything's stable now. We're flying the heading of 120. We're around 2,500 feet, and everything looks good. So let me show you another aspect. Let's say you don't want to fly a heading, but you would like to fly using the GPS, or you would like to use a VOR or an NDB, which are navigation aids that use the comm radios in the plane. I'm not going to explain what a VOR or NDB is in this video, but I will create a future video and I'll show you how to fly a VOR and NDB. In a nutshell, these three gauges that you see, the top two are VOR gauges, so this will show you how to fly to a VOR 1, this will show you a VOR 2, and this bottom one with the arrow will show you a NDB. If you were flying that way, what you would do is you would make sure that this option here is set to nav, and then you would activate the nav feature here, and then you would make sure that your VLOC 1 or 2, depending on which one you have here, so you can see VLOC 1 is 110.15, VLOC 2 is 110.15. You would tune in your VLOC to the frequency of the VOR or the NDB, and then when you activate the nav feature here, it'll start flying to that navigation aid. For GPS, it's similar. You notice I already have a waypoint defined by the magenta line, so I'll go ahead and I'll select nav. So notice how the plane is not actually turning, it's not doing anything. That's because although I activated the nav option, because this is still set to nav here, it's still looking for the radios. It's still looking to fly the VOR or an NDB. So actually I have to press this button, change the GPS, and now you can see the plane is going to fly towards the magenta line. And there we go. So now we're flying a GPS waypoint. We're at our level 2,500 feet. Everything is good. There's a few other buttons on the Autopilot. One is called an REV for reverse. I won't demonstrate that, but that basically lets you fly a back course. So let's say I took off from runway 8 and I wanted to get back to runway 8. I could press the REV and it'll help me get back to where I was. The other option is the approach option. So the nav feature is getting me to the runway. So if I'm doing an ILS approach, I would tune my VLOC into the ILS frequency, and then it will give me lateral navigation. So it'll help me line up to the center of the runway, but I'm still responsible to figure out the right descent speed to land the aircraft. If I activate the approach feature like this, it'll give me vertical guidance as well, so it'll help me descend at the proper speed. So let's go ahead. We'll go to Toronto City Center, about 10 nautical miles away, and we'll do an ILS landing, and I'll show you that feature. There's Toronto City Center, runway 8, 10 nautical miles. All right, I'm just going to pause things so we can set things up. First thing we're going to want to do, get this off GPS and go to nav. We'll want to activate our autopilot, the nav option, and our approach option. Again, the nav will give us our lateral or left and right. The approach will give us our up or down or our vertical. We're then going to go ahead and press M on the keyboard for our map. I'm going to select the approach 8, and I say show so that we can see roughly when the plane will activate. So when this plane gets to this glide slope here, that's when it'll start to automatically do its thing and start landing. I'll zoom in here. There I am, and this is the glide slope. So if I click on this, it tells me it's 110.15. So I could manually enter it in by going over to the comm radio here, entering the right one and putting it in. But I'm lazy, so the easier approach is to select Tune Nav 1. So I click that button here, and then I can close this. So now we'll unpause the flight simulator, and the plane will intercept the glide slope, and the localizer, and I'll automatically start flying in the right direction. There we go. So see if the plane is starting to intercept the glide slope here. And if I make it easier for you to see, straight ahead is our runway. So right now, I'm starting slowly to descend, but it hasn't really fully picked it up yet. Once I get within this triangle here, or this kind of vertical or glide slope, everything will start activating and it'll start lining me up with the runway. There. Need to hit the middle part of that line before it starts to activate. There we go. So we should start seeing a descent here. Yes, there we go. This will take us down to the runway. So what I will do is start setting up for our landing. I'm going to lower our flaps. That'll raise the plane quickly and then bring me back. And I'll start slowing down my speed to get to 90 knots. Nice, beautiful day in the city of Toronto. This is one of my favorite airports to land at. Not too many airports directly in the middle of the city. Alright, we're at our 90 knot speed. The flaps are down. Our descent is still occurring and we're lined up with the runway. Looks like we're going to have a good landing, folks. there you have it, folks. That is how you use the autopilot in a Cessna 172. We made a safe landing at Toronto City Centre. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments section. Please subscribe and let me know any other future videos that you would like me to create. Have a good day.